I went through all the way through WrestleManias, and that was WrestleMania 21. I'm thinking, blimey, it's been a long time. In a title match, I'm saying here. And, you know, even the years before that, you had Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle and Brock and Angle. But I'm really glad they've gone with this. I do think this is the match that people wanted to see. But at the same time, the feud has been a little bit rickety for me. But this sort of thing, Matt, it's more about the match, isn't it, this one? It's more about what happens. Now, I'm guessing, Matt, these guys will get the time because of the position they're in. How good of a match is this going to be? I know I said it before. Can it be better than the one they had in Japan? And you said yes at the time because WWE want to outdo it. But also, I think it's got to be really different as well. I'm hoping that they watch that match and go, right, let's make sure we book something a little bit different to that then, and not do the same repeating stuff. How good is it going to be, Matt? And for you, is this blatantly the match of the night?
Oh, there's so much on there. I can't outright say it's going to be the best of the night, but it's definitely going to be one of the top two. I think it's got to be different from Japan. They've got to rewrite it a little bit, but between them two guys, they can come up with such gold. I think they can easily script stuff together, and even on the fly work in the ring and just come up with some great moments. So I think there's no denying that it's going to be 5 stars. Come on, it's got to be. You can't have them two guys come together and have anything less. So I'm pretty excited to see that match for that reason alone. And this is gonna, I think, for me, change SmackDown. And I'm really selling this hard now.
Yeah.
I think Nakamura coming into this is going to bring a whole different dynamic, and I feel like heels are going to have their time to shine now because Nakamura is going to make them look great.
Yeah, absolutely. And now a lot of people are talking about the entrance is going to be extraordinary. Apparently, hopefully it will be. I'm expecting the violinist guy to show up and all the rest of it, but I know that that's all part of the package, Matt, but more than anything, it's got to be about what happens bell to bell. The only cool thing here is for Nakamura, unlike Jinder, I feel that AJ has worked that style in Japan. If there's anybody that's going to be able to make him look like he's working for it, look like he's really going for it, and letting Nakamura maybe do the unnormal thing that he normally does in WWE and let him do some of those strong style stuff, it's going to be AJ Styles because he knows how to do it. So I feel like WWE in that sense have made a really good move having AJ be the one. For me, Nakamura goes over, he becomes the WWE champion, and I don't know what record that sets for a male competitor being a champion from Japan, like a legit Japanese, by the way, not Yokozuna from the islands. I'm talking about a legit Japanese style. I don't know what that sets, but I'm sure that's going to be a big record setter. But it'll be a big deal. I mean, I've got to say, years and years ago when this podcast was the Wrestling Skull, I think we done like our end of year sort of like awards, and I remember saying back then my wrestler was Nakamura, how much I was enjoying him in Japan. Ever since he's got to WWE, he had a great first NXT match, but I feel like I've not seen enough of the real Nakamura, especially on the main card. I'm hoping this is the start of good things. But again, a lot of people, and including the bookies, Matt, and this might have you surprised, they've gone up and down about this. They've gone AJ Styles and Nakamura over the past few days. So this one is not as blatant as it should be. And I think much like the Charlotte match, it's got people talking about, no real clear-cut obvious winner here, maybe. And I don't know what that would do for Nakamura, a loss. It'd certainly do a lot more damage than it would for AJ to lose. But it does show there's fine lines in this one as well, because WWE may want to reward AJ a little bit here as well. So for you, Matt, the match of babyface versus babyface, I think, should we both say that I don't see a turn coming here? I'm going to put that much out there. I think this is just going to be bell-to-bell action, just a wrestling match. I don't see there being a heel turn for Nakamura or anything like that. But is this Nakamura all over for you, or do you think that WWE are not... See, here's the thing for me, Matt. I was shocked when I saw Nakamura being favourite for the Royal Rumble. because I thought they'd given up on the guy. So the fact that they're running with him at WrestleMania, I'm still a little bit shocked that they're going back to this. It's like somebody all of a sudden said, we can have faith in this guy, but I'm just surprised that they've gone back to it again in such a short time. That's what worries me here, but I think Nakamura's going over on this one. It's Nakamura for me. What about for you, Matt?
Yeah, for me it has to be Nakamura. I wouldn't be too surprised now if after this match we see AJ moving to Raw, because I feel like AJ's had every combination of matches that he could have on SmackDown now, and some fresh opponents would be quite welcome for him.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we're both going with Nakamura. We're both united in that one, shall we say, for a title change in that one. And, of course, now we go to what we believe will be the headliner, what we presume will be the headliner, and the match that, as I said at the top of the podcast, which was almost, by the way, 2 hours 40 minutes ago in this podcast. Matt, you're still doing well for holding on to this, as we both are, but we are at the end, and as I said at the start of the show, this is the match, Matt, that has got most people talking now, emailing me about, because the whole stuff with Brock Lesnar, has he signed a contract, hasn't he signed? Dana White coming out in the week saying he's coming back. The whole thing in Vegas where he was spotted out with Dana White. Roman Reigns keeps using this line about part-timers all of a sudden. Such a bad thing, and how we don't like him, and all the rosters with him. It's almost like CM Punk for me from many years ago. It's exactly what he said. But they've gone with the story of it. If there's one guy who likes playing the bad guy, Matt, it's Brock Lesnar, isn't it? He doesn't really care. He doesn't really care in real life either, I don't think, about people liking him. So he's a perfect guy you can put this with. For me, Matt, this match, it's almost like 4 years in the making. Not just 3, but 4. And the reason I say that is because if you go back to WrestleMania 30, I felt like WWE put an investment in Brock Lesnar when he defeated The Undertaker. And I think that they wanted the guy, Roman Reigns, to get all that credibility on him for 31. I think the timing was wrong, and I think WWE knew it then, so they blew that idea and they went with a cash-in from Seth. If you look at what's happened in the last few years, Brock Lesnar's been booked extremely strong still. It goes back to him dominating Cena. Last year with Goldberg winning the title again. It's almost like they've reset the button. You've got Roman Reigns, Matt, who's in that time, he's beat Triple H. He's beat The Undertaker in the main events, as we now say, the headlining ones. He's about to tie up with Hulk Hogan, by the way, for that record if he goes out at the end of this one. Even when belts aren't involved, he's on at the end with The Undertaker. So I've got a feeling this one's definitely on at the end. But it's almost like two big forces, Matt, of investments are now coming, colliding now, Matt. I mean, does it feel like that for you, or am I overplaying this a little bit more than probably what WWE... I mean, WWE should have really put more promotion into that in their sense, but I just think the only reason they're not mentioning The Undertaker is because they don't want Roman, they don't want fans to remember that too often. But I think if it was any other time, they would keep saying that, but I think that's the only reason we're not getting that. But for you, Matt, for me, it feels like two big forces coming against one another, that all the investment, all the stock is wrapped up in, including Brock beating AJ Styles, by the way, another champion from another brand. I mean, you couldn't get any more investment than they've got in these two guys, Matt, currently.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's a heavy burden to bear, especially if we're to believe that Roman is going to walk away with the victory. That, to have all of that on your shoulders, pretty much just to say that you're untouchable in the company, it pretty much makes you the top guy, the one to beat, and the juggernaut, the unstoppable force within the WWE. So that's quite a burden there to hold.
Yeah, I mean, match-wise, Matt, I went back and watched 31, and I've got to say, I've always quite liked that match. One of the few times I ever go back on main events, that one. But I quite enjoyed it. It was very stiff. I mean, Brock worked him, that's for sure. But I wonder if that brings the best out in Roman sometimes, Matt. Like, how Braun Strowman was working him during the year. I mean, some of those matches were really good, but again, he was against a guy who was as physical, if not more physical, than what he is, and I feel like it brings the best out of him. I feel like he kind of wants to earn it a little bit more, whereas maybe other guys, he's not quite the same, and it looks different. It looks like, he's too powerful and strong, and that fans don't want to buy it as much. But against bigger guys, including The Undertaker last year, I just think he comes across a little better. I do think this match is going to be better than what people think. I think the build to it now, especially with this last week, and nobody knows what the hell's going on, has got a lot more people interested. I'm a little. Are you a little bit surprised, like I am, Matt, about them sort of just coming out, especially on the Go Home Raw with Heyman, like with UFC done? Were you interested? Was you surprised that they said that and that they've gone that full hog, or do you think, like me, maybe they're thinking back to WrestleMania 20 and they want that reaction to happen on Brock, where they're like, "You sold out, and they're trying to think that then that way only anyone can chant for Roman." Or do you think a little bit like me, that's a little bit naive to think that fans are going to think like that?
Yeah, I think it's just another protection kind of technique. I feel like they say that just so that once the match is all said and done, and if Roman wins, no one's going to question, why doesn't Brock get a rematch? It's going to be straight away because, Brock's gone now, as let's not have any questions about that. And then it's sort of like the end, like we said before, the end of a wrestling calendar year, and then we come up with fresh opponents, new challenges for Roman, and just put that whole thing to bed.
Yeah, absolutely. As a main event, Matt, I know that we'd said we wanted to see this match a few times, like the number 2 of this. This is WrestleMania quality for me. Like I said, the investment's there on both guys. It's amazing how much both of them are carrying. I think the way they're booking Brock back is still very much like the unstoppable guy. I mean, on Raw, they had him, 5 Superman punches?
Yeah.
He still got up and F5'd him. The formula on paper, Matt, tells you 110%, in fact, Roman wins this. Not just because of the last few years and, of course, wanting to make Roman the absolute dominating force, but also even the Go Home show done the normal thing of the guy who's going to lose gets the upper hand before they go in. I thought they were going to change that for a little while. I thought, blimey, Brock's not getting up here. But that still happened. The odds on this, Matt, have been very interesting. They've gone from very obvious to blatantly obvious now. Could there be a shock, or do you think this is one? The only reason I'm intrigued about this match, Matt, is not just because the match itself, but how the fans are going to react to this, in the sense that because it seems so blatant, I'm thinking to myself, will fans resent that and be like, no, we want something different. We don't want the obvious to happen. And I'm wondering if that will work for Roman at the end of this.
Oh, yeah. I feel like, for me, it has to be Roman. I mean, there's no other choice. If they say, if they end up going with Brock, it feels like they have to invest heavy in Brock again, like at least another 3 years of Brock being at the top. I'm not sure what's better for the business in the long run anyway. I mean, is that good for the business, having the champion there that, only defends his title every few months? And, even if you hate Roman, would you rather see your title defended every month and then a possibility of a new superstar taking it from him? Or Brock dominating everyone until someone else from NXT has the time to come up and is built into a credible superstar? Mm-hmm.
Well, Jimbo has got an opinion about this, Matt. He wants Braun Strowman to be the guy that finally beats Brock next year at WrestleMania. Jimbo thinks that it's all one big work. He thinks that Dana White is in on it, and they've been putting all of that out, and I think Jimbo's trying to convince himself, if I'm being honest, but Jimbo thinks that that he has already signed a deal and they've not announced it, and that they're throwing all this stuff out there in the other media form to get people thinking the obvious. But Jimbo going with Brock Lesnar win. Now, I don't know if that's wishful thinking from Jimbo. But, you know, I tell you, if they did